Some of my most vivid memories of my childhood include baking cakes and pies in Fayetteville, North Carolina, with the best baker I've ever known, my grandma, Beulah Carver, better known by her grandkids as Nana. She was famous for many recipes, but her pound cake, angel biscuits, and coconut custard pie were some of my personal favorites. Every time there was a gathering, whether it be at church or a family function, there was always a line at the dessert table, and we all knew to get a big portion because there were usually no seconds to be found when Nana did the cooking. I was beyond blessed to learn her recipes and develop my own passion for baking. But if I'm being completely honest, I put my interest in baking to the side and wrote it off as just a hobby of mine for many, many years. However, one day I got that HCC magazine in the mail, and it had a student in a chef uniform on the cover, and I began to wonder if this hobby could turn into something more. When the idea of going back to school flashed into my mind, I was hesitant. I had a part-time job in addition to my full-time job, all while being a mother of 2 young kids. But the determination inside me to make a change and follow my passion led me to enrolling in the Culinary Arts and Baking program. Truthfully, I thought I was only gonna take a few classes because my main interest was just to learn cake decorating. Once I started taking the culinary labs, I realized how talented I am in this field. And the constant encouragement and even critiques from my teachers helped me to become a better and more well-rounded student and chef. So that ambition of just taking a few classes turned into a certificate-seeking and degree-seeking student. Once the pandemic hit during the one class I was most excited to take, I was really disappointed. COVID did more than make a crucial lab class for me virtual. It also led me to losing my part-time job that I needed to help pay for this education. Instead of just wallowing in my own sadness, I took the knowledge I had acquired until that point and applied it to my everyday life. I created Ray Cakes Bake Shop on Instagram and Facebook to promote my cake decorating skills, which ended up becoming an online cake business. And that helped supplement my income and further develop my skills. This gave me the hands-on practice I felt I was missing out on due to virtual learning. Even in the midst of a pandemic, when large gatherings weren't permitted, many people still wanted to celebrate with their loved ones on their birthdays. So the small little 6-inch cakes were highly requested because that was just enough cake to celebrate at home with a few loved ones. And this gave me an opportunity to supply a growing demand in the middle of a lockdown, even if it was just on a small scale. Everything I learned to even run that business, I learned from the classes I took at HCC. So when they say you can get there from here, it's true. If I hadn't written all those countless business plans, learned about food safety, and the laws around what you can legally sell from your home, then I wouldn't be able to do any of that, or at least not as successfully. This is my second time graduating from college. However, this time it means much more, for one reason: passion. The desire and passion I had to learn and earn this degree helped me to push through all the various adversities that could have stood between me finishing and just giving up. As an adult learner who started this journey with a young baby, I was only able to take 2 classes at a time because of my obligations as a mother and a full-time employee. But the passion I have to break through into a new career path made it much easier to push through to the finish line. I learned a lot about myself on this journey, but the most important thing is that doing what you love doesn't feel like work at all. The first time I attended college was right out of high school, as many of you sitting here today have done as well. Some of you may be the lucky ones that knew from a young age what you wanted to be and kept on that path. Or maybe you were like me and you did it because that's what you were told is the next step after high school. Whatever the case may be, you did it and you made it. I remember spending 10 hours piping lines of royal icing very carefully to make a 2.5-foot Eiffel Tower that only stood up for a very short time because when I attempted to move it, it collapsed. I felt very defeated in that moment, and my hand was cramping for like 2 days after that. But that process taught me a lot about my work ethic and resilience and how to handle defeat with grace. Although God knew I wanted to curl up in a ball and start crying after that, I didn't. I stood tall and I proudly completed the task, even though the end result didn't turn out like I wanted. The next showpiece I was tasked to do turned out much better, and it didn't collapse. So it's not always how you start, but how you finish and your growth during that process. To say that I am graduating with a cumulative GPA of 3.9 from someone who has always just been an average student in the past says a lot about this college and the faculty. I was really given a place to discover greatness in yourself and others. And with that type of confidence, I was able to flourish as a student, a chef, and a business owner. My goals are much bigger now than when I started, and I know that's because HCC provided me with a pathway to success. I wish I could thank everyone by name who helped me along this journey, but that list is just so long, because especially with children in the equation, it truly takes a village. However, a special shout out to my mom and dad for their critical role in helping out with picking up, dropping off, and watching my kids on the days that I couldn't. And to my children, Micah and Jade, for being my motivation and being understanding, when I was too busy to play because I had work to do. I love you guys, and without you, none of this would have happened. To the class of 2022, congratulations. I know I can get there from here, and so can all of you.